And then afterward, I realized I kept seeing Michael Nowak, and I thought that was somebody else, and found out that's Polite. So this showed up on my timeline for an event they're having on July 14th to the 17th of 2016, National Convention of the Oppressed. And when I saw that, the first thing that interested me was I saw, the Black Lives Matter, RBG, New Black Panther Party, and I said, all the agents have come out now because MASA's not going to help them anymore. And I found that very interesting. And I'm saying that agents, for real. To see Attorney Shabazz, and an attorney has a oath to Elizabeth, so that means he is chattel property of Elizabeth and the Vatican, which means he is a house Negro. Dr. Cornel West, who knows about the SF-181, and he never at any point he said he was going to sign a letter of endorsement, and he still hasn't, but he has time to endorse Bernie Sanders running for president, which we know the Electoral College chooses, and he, again, is not talking about the SF-181. Dr. Boyce Watkins, same thing. Again, all these individuals that you see, Lamont Hill, Sarah Sutton-Setti is hilarious because he didn't want to debate nobody, and then he wants to call and talk to me privately, talking about the SF-181. Polite, of course, we know he's not going to talk about SF-181. All these people that you see here on this flyer are agents. Our authorized representative in New York, Nanya Akiwel, had wrote down a response, and the response was, in the International Decade of People of African Descent has been extended until 2024, and not one of these colored folks have mentioned it. Why? This would be the perfect platform to bring your complaints into the international spectrum, but they don't want to do that. Why? We, Atsikata Nation, are one of 3 UPR stakeholders, CSO, NGO, IPO, that are on the forefront. So when we go to the link, Convention of the Oppressed, this is the actual website you're looking at. And what do you see? Okay, homepage, looks good. Nothing else. At a Baptist church? How y'all thinking you're going to get freedom and you're going to a Baptist church? And this is ridiculous because the churches have what? A 501c3, putting them under the jurisdiction of the IRS, and the IRS is underneath the International Monetary Fund, which makes them what? Tax collectors and agents of Rome. And according to their boy Jesus, he said, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and render unto the Lord what is the Lord's. So by them putting on an event at a Baptist church, that is nothing more than taking slaves and keeping them on the plantation. July 14th, there's nothing else here. So this, again, looks like a scam. Nothing new. And, of course, you see all the logos here. Now, remember, Black Lives Matter is controlled by George Soros, who's a billionaire, and it's known that he put $30 million for all the riots that happened in Ferguson. So all I see is a bunch of house Negroes leading Nubians to slaughter. Instead of talking about this SF-181 form, definitions for new race and ethnicity categories. The categories do not denote scientific definitions of anthropological origins. The designations are used to categorize U.S. citizens, resident aliens, and other eligible non-citizens. And this was developed in when? 1997 by the Office of Management and Budget. So, what is the definition of black? A person having origins in any of the black racial groups of Africa. What's the definition of white? A person having origins in any of the original peoples of Europe, which were Nubians, the Middle East, still Nubians, or North Africa, continued Nubians. So, what the U.S. government, and this is sanctioned by who? The Department of Education, is saying is that you black people need to be calling yourselves white and as well American Indian, because that definition is a person having origins in any of the original peoples of North and South America, including Central America, who maintains cultural identification through tribal affiliation or community attachment. And thanks to Dr. David Imhotep's book, The First Americans Were Africans, that makes us quote-unquote Indians. So, continuing on, because we have to do this. We're the only ones that have an SF-181 page. At Sakata Nation of Yamasee Moors, we are white and American Indian. And now, because of Barack signing that order, it'll be changed to Native American. Because the original Native Americans would be what you would call the black people. But you can't call yourself black because black has no standing at law. So we'll say Nubians, Melaninites. This is the form that all these people that were aforementioned here, none of them will talk about this form. All you got to do is do this. Check, check. And for those that are from the islands and whose family has Hispanic, then you can check yes if that's applicable to you. That's all you have to do. One piece of paper, it's free. None of these guys, inclusive of Polite, and Polite is friends with me on Facebook, so that's how we're talking about this, and that's why.
And just like that, you drop that black and African status off of you, which remember, etymology of the word African was first used to describe whites living in Africa and became contrasted to the American-born Negro, all right? And the word black was shown many times. Go to the etymology, Old High German, it means to be pale. So you are neither one of those. So first of all, you're not standing in honor, right, at all. You're claiming something that you're not, period, okay? And so second of all, this is how you get those titles taken off of you in the United States and the corporation that you've been indoctrinated into. Because you don't even know that there's a difference between the United States and America. The United States is of America. You are of your mother and father. It is of America. They're not telling you who's running America because you're not in America, because right now you're agreed to be a United States citizen. So where you're in the United States citizen, getting treated any which way you want, that they choose to treat their property, because you're playing their game because you decided to take a title that they gave you. There's a way to switch that title from being black, right, and an African, which you're neither one, which is a fiction, right, to switch it to what you're supposed to be, all right? You go down and you switch what they have you registered as, because what you're not telling you is that Social Security number is your green card, right? When people come over here and they tell me you have to have a green card to work, right, and shit like that, right? Your Social Security number is your green card, is your what's it called? Employee identification number. Your child at birth, you sign them up for manual labor. And that's why they say the mother is an agent. Because they don't care about the father. Father don't even have to even be there half the time for them to go ahead and register the child. You notice on the, you know, the thing gets registered? Look at the birth certificate of your child. How many of them actually say the doctor's name on there? How many of them actually have the time of when it was on there? On the birth certificate. How many of them actually have a registered name on there? The hospitals register. They're registering you. You don't get it because you don't study law. You don't go to the courthouse. You don't read. You don't do nothing but sit around and be entertained. You're registering your child. You're signing them away. This is while Child Protective Services is in your life all the time. But I don't know nothing, you know. I don't know nothing.
I want to make it a point to let you know all these guys as agents. They're welcome to call me at any time if they take offense. 1-587-712-0639 is my direct number. Any one of you all here can call me, and I will especially pick up the phone to talk to you. But I know already you're not going to do that. Now, this is the UN International Decade for People of African Descent, 2015 to 2024. When we go down here to look at the official General Assembly resolution of the program of activities, we click on this and it takes us here. This is a UN General Assembly resolution. That means all the countries that make up the UN are obligated to follow this. This is the program of activities for the implementation of the International Decade for People of African Descent. Resolution ARES 6916. Now, when we go to page 7, it talks about justice because the three requirements or the three activities are recognition, justice, and development. So when we go to justice, right, this should be Malik Shabazz should be talking about this, but he is a queen's boy. So he belongs to the queen. He can't say anything about this. When we go down to section G. Well, we'll start at F. Facilitating access to justice for people of African descent who are victims of racism by providing the requisite legal information about their rights and providing legal assistance when appropriate. G, which is the most important, preventing and punishing all human rights violations affecting people of African descent, including violence, acts of torture, and inhumane or degrading treatment, including those committed by state officials. So, in other words, the reality of the situation is this. All those people on that event, if it does happen to go off, I know it's not going to happen. So here's the challenge. Prove me wrong. But if you do put it on, then you prove your